Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you all are doing well. This is Mohammad Badruddin and today we are going to solve lab number 4 from API testing module from Porttrigger. So in today's lab, we are going to exploit server-side parameter pollution in a query string. So what happened, sometimes APIs are not directly accessed by the user. So whenever you are accessing any application, at that instant, you may get some request that contains API queries or API requests that are generating API requests directly to the API server. But sometimes what happened, API is not directly accessed by the end user, but the server, you can say front end server, take the input from the user and then pass that input to the API. And that API could be another server or it is inbuilt within the server. There are two different ways to use APIs. The first, a user can directly access the API or directly request to the API server. And the other scenario or other implementation or deployment scenario is like the user will provide the input to the server. It could be a front end server, and then that server is going to take that input and pass to the API by sending an API request. When a website embeds user input in a server-side request to an internal API without adequate encoding. Okay, so that means as the user give or provide the input, the same input is going to be passed to the API server. Fine, there is no encoding, no sanitization, no validation, and this is always horrible. So if this is the case, at that instant, what happened, that attacker may be able to manipulate or inject parameters within the user input, which may enable them for like overriding the existing parameter, modify the application behavior, or access unauthorized data. So these are the things. And now if you got the point about server-side parameter pollution, that means you are not going to see the API and you are not going to directly call the API, but you just provide the input and the server will take that input and make a request to the API, or it is going to pass that input to API to fetch some data. Now let's see, to solve this lab, we need to log in as an administrator and then we need to delete the Carlos account. Now to solve the lab, you need some prerequisite knowledge. What is that? There are 2 points. How to use URL query syntax to attempt to change a server-side request. This is the first thing. Second thing, how to use error messages to build an understanding of how a server-side API processes user input on the server side. So I already accessed the lab here. You can see this is our lab. Now I'm going to, okay, burp proxy is there. Let's see side by side. I'm going to enable the burp proxy on my browser and go to the proxy. Let's just click on home. So as I say that maybe this API is used by the server itself, but it is not accessible by the user directly. So maybe we are not going to see any API doc or a document or any API endpoint here directly, but we will analyze the request and its corresponding responses. And at a certain point, we may find out that the response is coming from some kind of API. So I'm going to just check on everything. Let's say home, view the product details. Okay, so this is the product detail, product ID 1. Okay, and this is the response. We do not have anything so that we can add it to the cart or we need to purchase it, but let's go to my account. And once we go to my account, there is a login. Let's say wiener and the password is Peter. Just checking everything. Okay, so you can see there is a post request. Fine. Next thing, there is one more option like forget password. So if we go to forget password, you can see one JavaScript file is loaded which contains the functionality of forget password. Fine, we will see that in a minute. But let's say if I say wiener, let's try to change the password for wiener, and once we submit, you can see here invalid username. Although it could be a surface for user enumeration, it could be a vector of user enumeration, because if the user is correct, so you are going to see something like this. Fine. So forget password, here you can see we are providing this data, and in response we are getting data in some kind of JSON format. Okay, so maybe this response is coming from the API server, which is rendered here like this. Okay, so we need to see that in a minute, but first of all I'm interested by seeing this file. So I'm going to copy that URL back to the new tab and paste that, hit enter. The interesting function is this one. So what this function is doing, it is going to encode the form data. Okay, so you can see it is taking one variable that has empty string, and this function encode by using encode URI component. Okay, and replacing the space with the plus sign. Okay, then it is going to separate the key value pair. So once it is going to separate, so there will be two part. The first part is pair 0 and the second part is pair 1, right? So now it's saying if the pair 1 is string, at that instant it is going to concatenate pair 0 and pair 1, means key value. Now this is the method written for the forget password form, some validation. So validate input and create message. This part is also interesting. Okay, so what it's doing here, it is going to create one query string with the Windows location dot search, and then creating one URL parameter with URL search param and taking the query string. Then it is going to take the reset token. So you can see URL params dot get, that means to fetch the reset token. Okay, and this reset token, you can see if it is there, if the reset token is there, so it is going to redirect us to this URL, and here it is going to put reset token, whatever the token is. And once you have reset password token, then maybe you will be able to reset the password. Now the thing is, because it's saying now please check your email address, that means this reset password token, or maybe this complete URL is sent by the email to the user, and once that user access that URL, the browser is going to take that user to reset password page where the user can reset his password. Fine. So two important part here. The first one is it is encoding URL, encoding the special characters, and the second thing is reset password token. The URL we found here is reset for the reset password. Okay, now back to the lab. Okay, so going back to the my account and go to the forget password. Let's say one more time Carlos and submit that. So this is our forget password request. I'm going to send it to the repeater. Now go to the repeater, send it again, and it is working completely fine. Let's see. If I say here, I'm going to add, because we are working on parameter pollution, so let's try to add one more parameter here. Let's say test is equal to west, and just hit enter. So now you can see the request is accepted. Okay, and it is allowing us to add another parameter, but it is giving us the response for the Carlos user. Okay, one more thing we can try, let's say username, because username is the valid parameter. So let's try to put here username is equal to West and send it again. So as you can see here, it is saying invalid username. Why? I'm telling you, because in the PHP, if the application is PHP application, and if you put two parameters with the same name or same parameter you put, it is going to always take the second one or the last one. Okay, so that means in this case it is not going to see or consider this parameter because both parameters are same, but it will take the second one. Okay, but if the application is ASP.NET, it is going to take it is going to consider both of these parameters. Okay, and if the application is Node.js, so it will always consider the first parameter if two parameters having or two same parameters are there. Okay, so as I mentioned before, that server-side parameter pollution occurs when a website embeds user input in a server-side request to an API or internal API without adequate encoding. So here we need to test what? We need to test something like, let's go back here on this page with the forget password. And we need to try a few things. Let's say username is Carlos. We all know that this username is correct, fine, valid user. Now let's try something like okay, and just submit the request. Invalid username. Now back to the request. So you can see most of the special characters are URL encoded, but exclamation sign, star, small bracket, underscore, hyphen, okay, these characters are not URL encoded. Rest of the characters are URL encoded, like hash, ampersand, all these characters are URL encoded. And you can see here it's saying field not specified, field not specified. So if you are going to check the parameter pollution, okay, you need to check that with the input. Let's see, if I say here and test is equal to West, let's see what's the result we have. So parameter is not supported. So there are two things. In the previous request we get field not specified, and in this request we get parameter is not supported. So why is this happening? This is happening because it is considering this as a separate parameter, not included in the input, which is this. So what we are going to try here is back to the repeater, the same request we have, but instead of this and sign or anything, let's just truncate it with the hash. You can see if we send this request, it's saying field not specified, but if we go back, invalid username, because it is taking this parameter. Also if we change something which is invalid parameter, so it is going to say and test is equal to West. Why so? Oh, because we need to make it URL encode and test is equal to West. Now you can see parameter is not supported. If you want to test it, you just make it URL encode and test it, because once we put here ampersand, it is considering this as the separate parameter. Okay, so to test it, what we need to try hash. So this is the URL encoded value of the hash, and once we send it, you can see field is not specified. Server is also using some field after the username. Okay, so even if we take out this test is equal to West, just putting here the hash in URL encoded value of hash and send it again, you can see field not specified. That means after this URL, it is trying to find out some kind of field which is not specified here. Let's see if I put here test is equal to west, let's say, and we need to just URL encode this one and send it again. Again, field is not specified. So that means this test must be a valid field. Okay, and then we will find out the value of that field. So what that field could be, this field could be field, because it's saying field not specified. So you can try here field, okay, and just send that again. And we need to just take out this hash. Now we don't want to truncate, because maybe this field is the valid field. You can see here invalid field. Why? Because west is not the valid field. So now I get the idea. Idea is what? You know, the database tables, there are row and columns. So columns are like fields, and the fields are like, let's say, user ID, username, email address, first name, last name, mobile number. These are the fields. So if I put here, let's say, email, because we know that email is the valid field here, because we are seeing here email before. So if we send that, now you can see the result is good. Okay, and the type here is email. Let's see if I say here username, okay, and send this. You can see the type is username and the result is Carlos. So whatever field we put here, it is going to give us the result of that field corresponding to this username. So because we put here the username Carlos, so the result we get here is Carlos, but the field type is username. And in the previous request, if we go back, you can see the type is email in the result, and we get the result as email address. So let's see, maybe the ID, maybe the field name is ID. So it is invalid. That means the field name is not ID. Okay. So we can do few things. We can either fuzz this value or the field name, we can fuzz it, or as you can see, before we enumerate the files of this application, and we found here forget password.js file. So within this we had this URL reset token. Okay, so reset token could be the parameter. I'm going to just copy it back here in the repeater and paste it. Okay, so let's say I give you one scenario so that you understand it more better. Suppose there is a user table, and in that user table we have in the application we have one feature to forget password. So whenever the user go to the feature for forgetting password, at that instant application generate one reset token and put that reset token value in the database. Okay, now once the username is correct, application check the validation and send the email to the user with the reset token in the form of URL. So, and that is valid for, that email is valid for, let's say, 2 hours, or in a normal case, let's say 24 hours. So within 24 hours, if the user access that URL, okay, he can access the reset token. And once he go to visit this URL with the reset token value here, the application is going to check the reset token if it is present in the database or is valid or not. And that reset token is tied with a specific user or user ID, then it is going to let you change the password by providing you the reset password page where you can put your new password and you can repeat that password. That means in that case, a database table must have a field named as reset token. So this field could be only token. The name could be anything, but we are guessing this name because it's containing here reset underscore token. Fine. So let's just send this request. And once we send this request, you can see we get the reset token value, because this is what it's doing. It's taking the field, and whatever field we mentioned, it is going to bring us the value of that field which is associated with this username. So now if we have this, we can copy this part up to here, go to new page, paste that. Oh, come on. Okay, forget password. I'm going to copy the URL from here. Okay, forget password, then question mark reset underscore token. This is what we have, right? Forget password reset underscore token is equal to, this is the token value. So copy here, back here. Come on, invalid token, because we need to go to the end screen. Okay, and put the value of reset token, hit enter. Now you can see we can change the password for the Carlos account. For testing, just for the lab purpose, testing purpose, I'm going to put 126 and submit that request. Once we submit, back to my account, and let's say Carlos, and put the password here 126, login, and as you can see we log into the Carlos account. Now to solve the lab, we need to delete this Carlos account, so we need the token for the administrator. So back to the repeater, and this time instead of Carlos, I'm going to put here administrator and send this. Invalid CSRF token, of course, invalid CSRF token, because now the CSRF token could be different. Okay, forget password. Now we need to take the CSRF token from this request. Okay, let's see, administrator, submit the request. Please check your email. Come back here. Now from here we can find the new one. So now I'm taking it from here. Just copy that, go to the repeater and change this CSRF token. Username is administrator, and we are going to take the field reset token. Send this request. Invalid CSRF token, session does not contain. Oh, come on. Oh, yeah. Because every CSRF token is tied with the session. So come on. I think the session is already changed. So MAZI, I'm going to paste it. Yeah, now session is different, CSRF is different, but these two are tied. So now send this request, and as you can see we get the reset token. So I'm going to copy that and back here, let's say okay, go to the forget password, and we are just going to add here this one, and instead of this token I'm going to provide this token. This is the new one. Now it's asking for the new password. I'm putting the same password 123456, send it. Now back to the login page, and from here I'm going to say administrator, and the password is 123456. Hit enter. Now you can see we are logged in as administrator. Here we have the admin panel. So we go to the admin panel, and here we have only Carlos user, and we need to delete it to solve the lab, and the user is deleted successfully, and we solve the lab. So that's it for this video. Hope you understand it. If you have any query, please put your query in the comment section. I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye.